Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's July 30th, 2014, and let's get straight into our news tonight. Now, we here at InfoWars are no strangers to controversy. It seems that people have an issue with documented fact. But, every now and then, or should I say more than every now and then, people come out and attack us for completely fictional reasons, such as saying that we believe in pixies or, other mythical creatures. I'm surprised they didn't say we believe in the Pegasus. But now we have Keith Olbermann coming out and saying that he doesn't like InfoWars, he doesn't like DrudgeReport.com in a bizarre Twitter rant. And it's very likely linked to the Daily Beast article where they say that we here at InfoWars are moon landing deniers. And we've had many guests on our show and they believe in various things. It doesn't necessarily believe that we believe everything our guests are saying. But, for the record, I do believe that we landed on the moon, and Alex Jones does as well. But Mr. Olbermann, he came directly at one Paul Joseph Watson, and who better to talk about that exchange than Paul Joseph Watson himself?
Well, this took another bizarre twist this morning when Keith Olbermann, who of course was hugely respected for his anti-Bush rants around 6 to 8 years ago, then of course basically disappeared into obscurity once Barack Obama was elected and pacified all the MSNBC leftists. He engaged in a vitriolic rant targeted at me and Matt Drudge, calling us the perfect trilogy, along with Lionel Media, perfect trilogy of paranoia, sophistry, tinfoil ass hattery. So this came completely out of nowhere. I'll tell you how it links to Rand Paul in a moment. And it quickly developed into a back and forth. I said, I may look young, but I'm old enough to remember when Keith Olbermann wasn't totally irrelevant. He responded, "You don't look young." I responded back, in the words of Bob Dylan, "I'm younger than you. When were you last doing serious media? 8 years ago?" And it went on. And my last message was, seriously, Keith, I had huge respect for you. Now you're throwing ad hominems on Twitter. Disappointed. And then he went on to state that I believe in pixies, elves, and conspiracies. Now, this is quite bizarre because although Olbermann is now obviously off MSNBC, he's off Al Gore's TV network. He's doing a late-night sports show on ESPN. He's still got over 500,000 followers on Twitter. Why is he attacking me and the Drudge Report?
And things like that happen every day. And most of the time, it's somebody who's just trying to make a name for themselves, trying to get back in the news cycle. But every now and then there is a respected journalist who decides to take a shot at the alternative media, such as Geraldo Rivera. Now, Geraldo is somebody that I respect. He's put out good reports over the years talking about how the troops are growing opium in Afghanistan and other good reports as well. So I definitely do hope that he retracts the comments that he made talking about how Drudge is fomenting a civil war. And he said this, he said, "Shame on Drudge. His authoritative website has gone hysterical on the issue of immigrant children. 14 stories like, could Ebola sneak across?" Now, once again, Mr. Rivera has put out a number of good reports over the years. He's also been a guest on this show. And like I said, I hope he does retract these comments. But to say that Drudge's in-depth coverage is somehow blowing things out of proportion is something I respectfully disagree with, because we've seen the reports about the MS-13 gang members coming across the border. We've seen the reports about people with diseases such as Ebola, such as tuberculosis coming over the border. And personally, I've been down there on the border talking to the Border Patrol agents, talking to the ICE whistleblowers who say, yes, we do have people in our facilities who have these diseases, and we are very much concerned because our quarantine area is nothing more than a piece of yellow tape. We've talked to the Border Patrol who said, hey, we'd love to get some help down here from the CDC, but the CDC pretty much told the Border Patrol to go fly a kite. It wasn't their issue. And, it's not to say that everybody from Central America has a disease. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying everybody from Central America is a gang member. I'm not saying that either. But we have seen the reports. There's a report just last week about the woman housing an MS-13 gang member, and she didn't even know about it. We've seen the reports about an MS-13 gang roving around and killing a homeless man. We've also seen the reports, as I previously mentioned, about the Border Patrol, about the ICE agents, talking about how they have people in their facilities who do have diseases and they don't have the facilities to really take care of that. So I do respectfully disagree and hope that Mr. Rivera will take back those comments. Indiana Governor Mike Pence learned HHS was dumping immigrant children into a state by the press, not the HHS. In a letter to President Obama, Pence wrote that the Department of Health and Human Services informed him that the federal government had housed hundreds of unaccompanied alien children in Indiana from January 1st to July 7th, 2014, but only after reports surfaced in the media. While we feel deep compassion for these children, our country must secure its borders and provide for a legal and orderly immigration process, Pence wrote. Failure to expedite the return of the unaccompanied alien children thwarts the rule of law and will only continue to send a distorted message that illegally crossing into America is without consequence. And he also said that if these children are to remain in the state of Indiana, Indiana will likely be responsible for the health, the education, and also the welfare of these children. Well, there's no maybe about that, because unless they transport them someplace else, yes, this will fall onto the Indiana taxpayer. And we also see the governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick. You guys remember him from the Boston bombing. He said that he didn't know that the kids were coming into his state until he learned about it through the media. Now, some people say it's plausible deniability, but I'll go ahead and take them at their word at this point. And I keep trying to come up with a proper example to get people to understand why people are not exactly thrilled about the alien children coming over, or anybody for that matter. And the best thing I can do is this. So let's say you're at the grocery store and you have, 3 or 4 kids of your own. So you're at the cash register and you pull out, the $100 bill or whatever, and you're about to hand it to the cashier, and the guy behind you snatches the bill out your hand. And you turn around and you say, "Hey man, no, what's all that about?" He says, "Hey, I'm a humanitarian. I'm here to feed my children. If you have a problem with it, you're a racist." And that's the best example I could come up with as far as what's going on with bringing these children to these communities and then dropping the responsibility of said children or said immigrants on the taxpayer. And we also know that not all of these children are children that you would think about. They're not all teenagers. They're not all kids running around in diapers, even though they want you to somehow believe that these kids in diapers made this a long journey on foot by themselves. No, that's not the case. Some of these people are 31 years old under the current Obama administration standard of what a child is. These people are old enough to be my big brother. They need to take me to the water park and buy me an ice cream cone, but that's not going to happen. They just want to take my tax dollars. Once again, you can come here, but you have to do it the legal and lawful way. If Ebola hits U.S., even healthy Americans will be quarantined. This is something else that's very true and very real. With concerns growing over the deadly Ebola virus, which has killed 670 people in West Africa, preparations are already underway in the United States, where even healthy Americans will be subjected to forced quarantine in the event of an Ebola pandemic. The official CDC website details specific laws and regulations governing the control of communicable diseases, under which even healthy citizens who show no symptoms of Ebola whatsoever would be forcibly quarantined at the behest of medical authorities. Now, as I previously mentioned, I'm not a fan of all things CDC. The Border Patrol says we need help. They say go fly a kite. So I'm not backing them 100% to the tilt on that. But yes, this is a very serious situation where they say that if disease comes over in the form of Ebola, or I guess any other disease that's big enough at the time, they'll quarantine even healthy Americans. So when you have people coming over from whatever country carrying tuberculosis, carrying whatever else, couldn't the same thing happen with another pandemic? And another example, let's say it's just a numbers game. So let's say you go to a big stadium, you go see, I don't know, the Rolling Stones or whatever, some huge 50,000 person stadium. Let's say 100 people show up and 1 out of 100 people is sick. Your chances of getting sick are probably pretty low if you have this huge stadium to move around in and 1 out of 100 people is sick. But if 1 out of 100 people is sick and this thing is jam-packed to capacity, your chances of getting sick are pretty good, or at least increase. And it's the same thing with people coming over, from whatever country. Once again, not saying that everybody's diseased from a foreign country, but you have to take these concerns seriously and don't let them shame you into thinking that this is just some type of racial issue.
Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.